Hi crafters, welcome back to another segment of KISS, Keep It Simple Sylvia. This is the second Friday in August and we're working with wire for the whole month. And I'm going to show you some more cute little embellies that you can make out of wire. Remember we talked about the different gauges. Sometimes it's easier, and depending on what you want to use the wire for, to use either a thicker gauge or a less thick gauge. What I've been normally working with is this 20 gauge wire, and that's what I'm going to work with a little bit today. In the last segment, I showed you some coils, and I talked about how they can be made into jump rings. So I'm going to show you how we do that. I'm just going to pull off some of the wire. And jump rings are really fun to have because you can make your own chains. Now, last segment I used a pencil to wrap them with, and this segment I want them a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to use a pen here. And if you use something, just make sure that you can slide it off easily. Like I really wanted to use this size, but because I got this rubber on here, it won't be able to slide down, so I need to make sure that it's smooth so I can slide it down. Paintbrush would have worked, just anything round. So I'm just going to start wrapping, putting as many on here as I can get. I'm going to use my pliers to pull it tight. Just regular household pliers. When you're working in crafts, it doesn't really matter if you're going to bang up the edge. But when you're working with jewelry, you want to really make sure that you actually use jeweler pliers. They have a smooth. Okay, so now I've got my little jump rings on here, and I'm just going to push them together. I want my jump rings to be tight. Okay, and so now I'm going to take them off, and what you want to do is you want to cut your jump ring in sections where you're going to have like an overlap. So like this section right here is coming down fairly straight, so I'm going to cut this one and then again line it up and cut it there. Now I have just made one jump ring. Now I can use these jump rings to make a chain. If you need to suspend something from the chain or make it a little heavier, heavier wire is better. 20 gauge is pretty easy to bend and to open up the jump ring again. One of the things when you're making jewelry is you want to make sure that you have flat edges together. But if you're just using this on a craft project, it really doesn't matter. In order to make sure you would have flat edges together, you would take the flat edge of your pliers and just make sure you cut both of the tips off with the flat edge against it. And now you've got a jump ring that you can close up better because you'll have a flat surface to touch up against. And when you open and close jump rings, what you really want to do is you want to twist them. You don't really want to pull them apart this way like that, because it's too difficult to get it back together again, and you've kind of like made it go out around now. So the easiest way to work with jump rings is just to slide them back and forth like this. Let's see if I can push that back together again. Okay, so now I've got one jump ring, and I'm going to cut another one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my nippers against the edge of this one, so I know that my jump rings will meet. And then I'm just going to cut. Okay, now I've cut myself another jump ring. And you see how they're kind of spread apart? You just push it together. And then you've got that one. And then you can eventually just make yourself a nice chain out of them. Now the smaller, obviously, you make the jump rings, the smaller the lengths are going to be in your chain. But if you're just putting something, just for a nice light little embelly on a card or media, multimedia or something. This works just fine. And see, we're starting to build a chain. And you could put this across the top of a card. You could thread ribbon through this and put it across the top of a card. You could put this on a scrapbook layout. You could add chain to a multimedia project that you would be working on. It's just so easy to do. You don't have to go out and buy chain, which can be expensive to purchase, when you can just make your own, particularly if you've got some wire around the house. Why not make your own? That way you can make the size that you want too. Okay, and I'll just hook another one together. And then once again, just twist the jump ring together to close it off. Now you see we've got a chain going here. So there's lots of different ways that you can use chains in your projects. Isn't that cute? I love doing that. I'll make up a ton of jump rings. Okay, now something else that we can do. Remember last week when we made our flowers by wrapping around the pencil? We're going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to make it a flower with a stem on it. I'm just going to make it a simple little flower. Okay, so I'm just, instead of leaving a whole lot down here, I'm just going to start wrapping around my pencil here. I'm getting it as many times as I can around the pencil. Okay, and just slide it off. And once again, we're going to do the same thing that we did last week. We're just going to kind of flatten these down. And then we're just going to start spreading them apart. And it's easier to spread them apart as you start bending them into a circle like what we did last week. We bent these into a circle. Okay, now I'm going to move these all around. Okay, and now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take this end and I'm going to use my round pliers and I'm going to make a swirl on it. And I'm just going to keep swirling it around until I get a cute little swirl on it. And then I'm going to tuck it inside my opening there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Just make a little cute little swirl. And roll it back up onto itself. Swirls are coils that the edges are rolling back onto themselves and they're touching. Okay, and I've got that one. And then I'll just bring this up and kind of put it in the center of this other one. This other loopy. And look at that. Isn't that sweet? Got these nice little coils on it. You could put that, you could put a stamp of flower, and then you could glue this onto the head of the flower. Lots of stamps have got, you know, that kind of swirly thing. Isn't that cute? And I'm going to show you another thing that you can make. Get some more wire. And I just love this next one. So cute. Okay, I'm going to use my curvy wires. But if you don't have them, once again, you can always use, you know, something like this and curve it down. And see, that works. I've got a nice little bend in my wire here. And then I'm going to bend it out. And then, so I have something that looks like this, that kind of a shape to it. And then I'm going to come back down. I'm going to use my bamboo skewer. I'm going to bend this back around this way. See the shape that it's starting to take? It's going to be a coat hanger. How cute is this? How many times have you ever wanted a little coat hanger in your project? Okay, now I've made a coat hanger, and I need to, you know how coat hangers are looped around here in the center, so I need to do the exact same thing here. So just hold it together, bring that around, get my pliers. You can loop it as many times as you want. Sometimes you can get a lot done, sometimes you can't. Wouldn't worry too much about it. You just want to just make sure that it's closed down. And, you know, we can always straighten it out later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this edge off because I don't need all that. I just needed it to loop it so it would hold in. Okay, and you can see it's a little misshapen here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my pliers and kind of just straighten it out a little bit. First of all, I'm going to pinch this down because that's poking at me and I don't like it poking. Okay. So now I'm just going to work these around a little bit. Push that up. Turn this back down. And I've got a little coat hanger here. Now I can also, you know, like when you have like a skirt hanger or something, you know, you have those little loopy things on the end. And do the same thing here. You just put your pliers in here and just give it a little twist up. There we go. We have a little coat hanger. If you think that that's too tall on the top, which I think it is, I'm just going to cut it down and fold it again. Isn't that adorable? Now you could, you know, hang banners from this. You can make this as big as you want, as little as you want. You could put like, remember the McCall cutout dolls that we used to have? You could put one of the outfits on that. You could just like hang laundry on it, you know, little stamps. There's all sorts of stamps out that you could do that. I think banners look really cute, little triangle bunting type things hanging from that. How cute would that be on a little baby's card, a little baby announcement or something? Wouldn't that be adorable? And so now we've made ourselves a little hanger. And then another thing that we can do is, you know, we can make a whole bunch of coils. Last time I showed you some coils that we were making and what you can do with them. And all you do is you just, this is the 24 gauge. I find that this is easier to make this kind of coil with. But you can also make it out of the 20 gauge or 22 gauge because you saw how we did it when we made our jump rings. And what you do with this is you just get some wire and you just start on your bamboo skewer or whatever size you want to do, and just start looping them around. Push them together, make them tight, just start looping it. And these can be silly little embellies that you put on a page. You can actually use them to frame up something. If you make it long enough, you can make a frame out of it. If you want to color it, you can always use alcohol inks. Okay, so now you see that we've got this coil now. Now you can expand it out if you want. You can keep it tight. This looks cute sticking out from flowers, underneath flowers. It's just adorable. Cut that off. Another thing that you can do is I put this on a button and I made it look like antennae. And how cute would that be to go on like a little butterfly, like one of the butterflies that we made last week? And put that on or 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. Put that on a butterfly or a little bug. Say you've got a stamp that's of a bug, and you could put that as its face or on top of its face, and then put that as little antennae on it. Isn't that cute? I just think these are so sweet. I just love the coils in that. Well, crafters, this wraps it up again for another episode of KISS, Keep It Simple Sylvia. I hope you enjoyed this. I just love doing all sorts of little bellies. Anything that you can make out of twine, you can make out of wire. You just might have to get a thinner wire in order to bend it and manipulate it the way that you want to, or maybe you need a thicker wire. But pretty much you can bend wire in any shape. If you see something like on Pinterest or something, just give it a try. Bend it up, see what you can make. Aren't those cute? I just love these little things. I just think that's so sweet. I love putting these on cards. Okay, thank you for joining me for this segment of KISS, Keep It Simple Sylvia, and I hope you join me again next week when we continue to work with wire and I show you some more little goodies that you can do with wire. Have the good rest of your Friday, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you again next Friday for another segment of KISS, Keep It Simple Sylvia. Bye for now.